Welcome back to Glow Up and Grow Up. Today we have an incredible guest joining us. So I am going to read this bio because I have to read because it's impressive. So we got to give her due process here. All right. Nicole Bloom has been in the new home construction industry for 30 years. Girl, you do not look like that at all.
Oh
Primary
gosh.
with a background focused on sales management. She started her career with Beezer Homes in 1995, learning the escrow and sales contract process. After getting her real estate license in 1998, spent a couple years selling homes for a private builder. She joined Richmond American Homes in 2000 as a sales associate, and over the last 25 years with the company has risen through the ranks of management, becoming the Las Vegas division president 10 years ago. Nicole is very passionate about all aspects of home building and considers it a true honor to be involved in one of the most significant decisions a person or family can make, the decision to buy or build a brand new home. She has been involved with the Southern Nevada Home Builders Association, serving as a legislative chair for several years, the association president in 2023, and is still active in the executive committee. She is especially driven to empowering more women to discover and consider construction and home building as a career. We love that. Both through her involvement with professional women in building and through her Mrs. Nevada American platform of Build Your Dreams. Earlier this year, she started her Build Your Dream Scholarship and has raised 10,000 so far and was thrilled to award the first 2,500 in scholarships in August of this year. In her time away from work, she loves traveling, never met a Nordstrom store she didn't love, and gets the most joy from spending time with her husband, Greg, and their two sons, Chandler and Connor. Welcome, Nicole Bloom. Yay!
Thanks.
Yay.
I'm
Nicole, thank
exhausted.
you.
I'm exhausted, Stacy. That
I know, right? That was your whole life right there.
right there.
Thank you for being here. That is pretty amazing. We feel super honored that you would take the time and chat with us because
Oh my
wow.
gosh. This is
Yeah.
super
Wow.
fun. I love anything that's about empowering women and highlighting women. So thank you guys so much for asking me.
We are so excited and we can't wait to dive into your journey, your mindset, and a little bit of your magic. So, how did you first fall in love with real estate, construction, and then pageantry? Like, those don't
Yes.
feel like they fit.
One of these things is not like the other, right? Entering into home building was really by happenstance. I just so happened that the first kind of grown up job that I applied for was to be a receptionist at Beezer Homes. And that was how the home building kind of started. But I think really how I fell in love with it was as a sales professional, which I'm sure Stacy can relate to this, was the first time that I gave somebody keys
Mhm.
to their first home. And it's special for any buyer and any homeowner, but I think that first home, it just like hits harder. And so the first time that I gave somebody keys, I was just like, this is where I was meant to be. I think through the years, I've said many times to even folks on our team, like at the point where you don't care about that feeling anymore is probably the point you should look for a different industry because this is where people are going to have Thanksgiving dinner and prom pictures and all the ups, downs, and everything in life. So I think it's just such an honor if someone chooses to do that with us, especially at Richmond American.
Yes.
Pageantry, oh goodness gracious. So that is a much shorter window, but I 2 years ago I decided that I was just really, really unhappy with myself physically, mentally. I was struggling. I'd gone through menopause pretty early in life, and I was just in a really, really low place and decided I was going to kind of make a big change. And so I lost 100 pounds and took me a little more than a year. And a really, really sweet, sweet friend of mine had introduced me to the Mrs. Nevada pageant. She's like, you should do it. And I was like, you're out of your mind if you think I'm going to get in a bathing suit and high heels and walk across the stage in front of a bunch of strangers and let them, judge my thighs. But after kind of going through the health journey, um, I thought I had always had this kind of swagger with work, but never personally. Really, really always struggled with my personal self esteem, didn't really have any personal self esteem. And so I thought, you know what, if I can go through this pageant journey, maybe that will help me harness some inner glow. And so that's how that happened. And I just thought just did it thinking like, let me just see if I can actually do it. Did not expect to win. And did not realize how hard of work pageants are. I didn't really have like a paradigm for that, but I had no idea how much work was involved. But it's been literally the best year ever doing that.
Yeah, and I'll just
That's
say
so cool.
I was there for her pageant, and it was so fun to watch, and, we talk
I
about
had the best
sparkle.
cheering section.
Yes, you
Stacy,
did.
like
Yeah,
all these amazing people at our
yeah,
office. Like I had the rowdiest, best cheering section.
yes. Yeah, it was exciting to see, and all the sparkle and all the fun. It was definitely a fun night. I'm so glad I was there to be able to see that. Okay, let's go into, what was there a defining moment where you knew this was your calling besides the key moment? Was there any,
I think when I look back at my career and it's funny, and especially talking to you, Stacey, like I was a good salesperson. I was not a caliber of salesperson or sales professional that you are, right? I was good at it, but I knew at a certain point that I was probably better suited in a different aspect of the business. And so, I think kind of transitioning over on the sales management side, I think, I was like maybe better teaching than I was. I think generally I kind of lacked the killer instinct that maybe, I think to be really top of your game, you have to have. And then somewhere along the way, when you talk about like the calling, somewhere along the way, something clicked and I just knew that I wanted to transition to a more executive role. And when that kind of happened, it was just like, okay, nothing's going to stop this. Like, let's go figure out how to do this. And so I think, that came probably about 12 years ago. Um, I think, I don't know if you know this, RCC, but I actually applied for the division president job 3 times before I got it, got turned down twice. And then it was like third time's the charm. And then the third time, it ended up happening, but it became like, maybe an obsession. I don't know. Calling's also maybe a
yeah,
better, more
no, yeah.
a more positive word to put on it. But yeah, I think it was just like I really wanted to see if I could make an impact in not only our business for Richmond American, but in the industry too.
I love seeing, Nicole up there because all the other presidents are men. It's just a
But we
fact.
are
Yeah.
lucky in Vegas. We are lucky in Vegas. I'll tell you, Vegas is kind of a disruptor. So, 3 of the top 10 home builders have female division presidents, which is super rare. So, myself, Lennar, and Toll Brothers. Within our company, there's two, which it's, again, it's
Better
in
than 0.
general. Yeah, it's in general. And it's one of the reasons I'm so passionate about women in our industry is because about 10% of the new home industry and construction is made up by women. When you get into an executive level, it's even much less than that.
Mhm.
So it's one of the reasons that I always am like, go, I know construction may not be the obvious choice, but like go run towards that because it's just such an amazing industry to be a part of.
I love that. And I love that you said that it took you 3 times to apply to get it, because a lot of people would just stop and would just say, no, it wasn't meant for me. But to keep going and being like, no, I want this. Like that is such a cool thing.
Yeah, it was, I think, and it's funny that feeling of needing that fortitude was what I was trying to capture with the pageant thing. Like that always existed from a work standpoint, but never really from a personal standpoint. So it was kind of interesting how those things go together. And that's what I was trying to harness a year ago when I was like, let's try to do this. And so, luckily, I don't know that I would have made it 3 times trying on the pageant side. But that was still, regardless, that was the feeling I was definitely trying to harness.
I love that. Is there a moment that you can pick out either from pageants or your real estate career that is just like a pinch me moment? Like it's just super memorable. Pinch me. I can't believe I got to do that.
Um, So for the pageant, I will tell you one of the coolest things, and it was really because of my mom. My mom, I grew up a huge fan of Elvis, and my mom was a huge fan of Elvis. And so when we were at the Nationals for Mrs. America, we got to go to Elvis's suite at the Westgate, which is obviously
Mm.
formerly the International, where he lived for many years at the hotel. and it's not something that gets opened up readily. And so being able to walk through that suite, like literally sitting in his hot tub, it was dry. I was in a gown, but sitting in the hot tub, sitting at his piano, I was just like, come on, like this is pretty freaking cool. And my
That is
mom
cool.
being able to take those pictures and send them to my mom, it meant so much. So I think from the pageant, that was definitely it. From a career standpoint, I'll tell you more recently going to Japan. Stacy our company recently got purchased by Sekisui House, which is a huge Japanese company. And so recently going to Japan and going to our new headquarters in Osaka, which looks like something I sent pictures back to our team because it looked like something that Iron
Yeah, it looks
Man
cool.
should be
Yeah.
coming out of. It was very futuristic. And so I think that was like, oh my gosh, I'd never been to Japan. It was just so incredible. And I thought, man, this is just such a like, I can't believe I get to be part of this company and really all the innovation that we're going to be doing on the home building side. So a little of both. We'll pinch me on both.
That's so cool. And I'm going to tell you, Nicole, that Stacy has going to Japan on her dream list.
I do.
So
It's
if
right here.
that's something
It's
that
right
we can
here.
get,
Well,
if we can get that done,
This is I've
I
showed this
feel,
before. I have it here. This is my vision board. And yeah.
I'm
so
just
not that this
saying.
is not that this isn't like an official thing, Stacey, but one of the things we have been talking about as a sales contest, that would be the
Don't
win.
don't
I
don't
know
tell me with the contest.
it's not official yet or anything like that, but it is something that's been bantered about was because obviously it's extraordinarily expensive to go over there. But
Yes.
Yeah.
it is something that we have been talking about. It's like, how cool would that be to make that a sales
Don't
contest?
tease me with the
Well,
contest.
Yes.
I know Stacy will sell a couple homes that month.
She'll
A
do it
couple.
contest or no contest, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that is a dream. Like I followed her on social media, her pictures, and it's like that is a dream of mine to go to Japan. So it will happen. I mean,
It will
either way,
happen.
it will just
I find out one thing about you, Stacey, is if you put your mind to something, done.
Yep. Yep.
Like done. So
That is true. That is true. All right, let's switch to feminine leadership. Like, how have you stayed authentic while rising as a leader?
I think the one thing that I realized that it was maybe a couple years after becoming division president, I would go to our board meetings, which were in Denver at the time. And at the time I was probably one of the only I was the only woman in the room most of the time if I was presenting. And I always kind of went into them with like my boring suit, my like, black suit, white shirt, very boring. And I think I realized at one point, like I was really downplaying my femininity because of sort of maybe industry standards, whatever. And so, um, I decided at some point, I was like, you know what, I'm going to just like kind of give myself a signature calling. And that has become, it's actually like kind of a joke amongst the other division presidents. But typically, if I'm presenting or I'm doing something, I have some sort of huge like pin, flower, um, glittery something that's just like extra and totally over the top. And I thought like I'm gonna lean in to that because I'm not a guy, right? I'm a woman. And so
Mhm.
I do believe I will say just as a side note, I really one of my original mentors in this business always really drummed into me that as a woman in our industry that you do need to be conscious of what you wear and that it's in any business I feel like it's not the place for super short, low cut. That's just not, in general. But I think it's okay to embrace your femininity in other ways. And so that kind of became a calling card. What's so funny now is, our other division presidents at Richmond American, we recently had a national contest. And what the salespeople sometimes don't see is there's kind of these like side contests with the DPs. And it's not for money or anything like that. It's just more for bragging rights. And one of the ones that we had won, our Northern California DP, he sent huge flower brooches to all the male division presidents, and we got on a Zoom call, and they were wearing them, and it was
Oh,
just, I was like, it makes my heart so happy. Like it was
I
just, it
love
was,
that.
yeah, it was super fun.
Now,
So I think, for me, I have two sides, and, I have the very girly makeup, dress up, and I'm that way every day, but I do feel like, and then I have the side that swears a lot and, is worked in construction for 30 years and like, will go put hard hat on. But I do feel like, to me, and it doesn't mean my way is the right way, but I do feel like one of the best keys to leadership is if you're not authentic, then it just never comes across genuine, right? So, regardless of whether I'm talking to our CEO, if I'm talking at a sales meeting, like it's pretty much what you see is what you get. Like, I maybe don't swear as much in front of our executives, but I think I just try to be genuinely who I am, which is generally a little self deprecating, um, poking fun at myself. And I try to at least have a lightness and some humor to things because I mean, gosh, life is just so, life is just hard in general sometimes. And even though I think what we do in home building is noble, I also recognize that we're not saving babies or curing cancer. We're building homes. It's super noble. But in the scheme of everything, sometimes I feel like as executives, people can take themselves a little too seriously. And so just being genuine and trying to keep it a little bit light, I feel like is how I've embraced leadership. Again, not that my way is the right way. That's just how I've embraced it.
I love
I,
that.
I love that.
I love it.
I, lo-
Yeah.
I, I was gonna say I love that flower story. That's like such a tribute to you. Like
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, that's so cool. It's so cool that all the guys did that and like just rallied
Oh,
and celebrated you.
yeah,
Like that
it's
was really
it's been
cool.
funny. There's been a couple times over the last year where they've done some cute stuff like that. One of the reasons we are able to win sales contests is because of your co-host over there, who is, the total gangster of sales professionals. They've worn shirts that they did one where they put like a blonde wig and wore shirts that said "Be like Nicole." Like and that's the thing. I think just as a side note, I talk a lot. Um, and a lot of what, like, even with the Mrs. Nevada platform was about women in construction, all that. And the thing I always want to make sure to clarify is that doesn't mean that we don't love the men in our business. We
Yeah.
absolutely, and most of my mentors
Mm.
have been men. I've had a couple really great female mentors, but so many of them been men. And so I always make sure to say, like, this is not a man hating thing. This is
Yeah.
not the I love the men in our business, and especially the men in our business who support the women in our business, right? So I always just want to be clear with that because I don't ever want it to come across like it's a man bashing thing because it definitely is not.
I
I
actually
love that.
prefer to work with men. I actually prefer to work with men. I enjoy men, but I enjoy women too, but
As
I've
sales
always
partners,
just
I did too, Stacey. It's
yeah.
my favorite partners were my male
Yeah.
partners.
Yeah.
I feel
Yeah.
like
Well,
sometimes
and I
our feminine energy, when you get it together, it can be
Yeah.
a lot
Yeah.
sometimes. So
So especially
right,
with
but
the type A personalities, you get
yes,
two of them in a room, it's a lot.
it is.
also when you have two women, like someone then has to take on more feminine qualities and someone takes on
Mhm.
more male qualities to get things done. Whereas when you have a man with you, whether it's a partner, a business partner, you get to live in your full feminine. Like they take
Yeah.
on that manly role and you get to be, I feel like when you have a good man, no matter if it's business, life, relationship, you can be feminine. And that's a really cool thing
Yes.
because when we live in our feminine, like, man, how much more can we do? It's so awesome.
Yes. And I will say the biggest shout out when I think about the greatest men in my life, it's definitely my husband. I think, a couple things like to work in an industry that is male dominated, I think you have to have a really strong partner who knows that that's who you're spending most of your time with and is secure enough in the relationship that it doesn't become an issue. And my gosh, my husband's in the industry. He's a realtor. And so we know so many of the same people. And, on the flip side, when I decided to do the pageant, he was the first and really only person that I asked. We were literally sitting in a car dealership on New Year's Eve of last year. And I was like, hey, so I'm thinking about doing blah, blah, about doing the pageant because I wanted his take on it. And his immediate reaction was like, oh my God, you have to do that. Like, you've struggled so much with who you are personally, and like, you have to go do that. And I think, as cool as it was going on the journey of the pageant stuff, it wouldn't have meant anything without his support and his involvement. And so, um, and listen, I'm a huge believer that the help along the way, wherever that comes from, is a key to most people. But yeah, I'm so lucky to have just, and I'm trying to raise great men. I have two sons, they're 19 and
Yep.
24, and I always look at them and go, okay, that's going to be somebody's boyfriend, husband, father. Like, let me make sure that I'm, doing as much as I can. So, um, yeah, I think having great men in your life, whether, like you said, Caitlin, whether it's business or whatever, it is a huge boost. And my husband is literally my favorite person in the world.
I
So
love that. I love that.
yay
He
men,
should,
right?
and he should be, and he should
Yay,
be. He
men.
should be.
Yay
My,
I
men.
love
my,
it. On an
yeah.
episode about femininity, we're like, yay, men.
Yes. Well, my
I do.
boyfriend's name's Greg as well, and
Oh, well then
he is my
we
favorite
know.
person too. And I know Caitlin can
Yeah.
speak. Yep,
Yep. My husband
her
is my
husband.
favorite person and my biggest cheerleader. So,
Yep.
and
Yeah, it's
everything in my
important,
life,
right?
my business, everything got better once he got into the picture. So
Yeah.
it's awesome. It is awesome. So, speaking of that, what advice would you give to women who want to get into a male dominated space? Or, I mean, even you're a boy mom. So, anything, if
Yeah.
you're in just a male dominated world, what advice do you have for those women?
I think, generally, like, you have to kind of be willing to kind of kick the door open. And I will say at times, I think you definitely have to have thicker skin. You know, the amount of times, and actually, interestingly, pretty recently, um, I had somebody tell me, like, gosh, there's somebody that there's kind of, they're not really comfortable with having a female division president. And I was like, okay, well, I don't know how to change that because I have a uterus. So, like, I'm not really sure, how to, I was like, I don't know how to change being a woman, but I think you do have to have a little bit thick skin sometimes because, um, you're going to be in a lot of situations where, especially as, again, and as an executive, where you're the only one. And, it hadn't really happened a lot until as I said, we recently got acquired by Sekisui. In the initial meeting that I went to, there was about 100 people in the room, and it was all the division presidents from all five of the companies they own here in the United States. So there's like maybe 100 division presidents, and there was two women. And I was just like, oh, okay, like, let's go. This is very, and I will say they've been, the Sekisui team's been phenomenal, but I do think that you have to know that it's going to be maybe bumpy at times. Um, and so you do have to assert yourself. Again, there's also such a fine line of being confident and being cocky. And so, I do also think that, as if somebody's kind of exploring something like that, is, you do have to maintain that humility, because if you are the minority, let's say, in that, and you approach things in a really kind of, like, I don't know, I'm a huge fan of be humble or get humbled.
Mhm.
So I think that, that is always something you want to keep in mind. But, as far as construction, it's my passion. Stacy's known this. We have even a trade high school here in Southern Nevada that has 44 girls that go to it. And I went to go do a lunch for them, and I was just like, go do it. Just, if that's what your passion is, like, go.
Yeah.
It was life changing for me. This industry was really life changing. It definitely was not where I thought. I for sure thought I was working as like a buyer for Nordstrom's or at the mall. Like, I thought, totally it's going to be something, related to retail or something, because I have a love of shopping, like few other things. But I do, the industry is just so good, and it really can be life changing from a fulfillment, from a financial, because, obviously it's not like we're working all the time just because work is so fun. We it's there to provide an income, and so it really does a great job of that as well.
Those girls at that school were probably so excited to see you,
Oh my gosh.
come in.
I was crying there. I was just like, I actually called Greg, and I'm like, there's like 20 kids I want to adopt and bring home, you know.
Yeah.
And oh my gosh, it was great. We brought them pink hard hats and pink
I love
vests,
that.
and I had brought with me some different women. We have, oh my gosh, we have the best superintendents at Richmond, and
We do.
so I brought two of our one of our female supers, one of our female engineers, and we because we just have some amazing powerhouse women on our team. And so yeah, the girls, I think, especially at like 15, 16, they were able to
That's
look at these women and go like,
yeah.
okay, that's like hashtag goals, right? And so it was just phenomenal.
Yeah, one of our supers won the best of building awards.
Yes, she
That was so
did.
much fun to see
And
her
she's
win
so
that.
tiny. You can like fit her
I
in your
know.
pocket, but
I
she's
know.
scary. There are a few people that scare me. And our superintendent, Gabby, she like terrifies me because she makes it happen. She builds
Yeah.
homes faster than any other superintendent
Oh,
that we
wow.
have on our team. And she is a boss. She's a total boss.
That's so cool.
All right, let's see. Okay, where is there a moment where your femininity was your superpower?
Oh my gosh, that's such a great question. I think I don't know that I can do a specific moment in from a work standpoint. But where I do think it is the superpower is when you are the person that's different in the room, I do feel like people pay more attention. Maybe if you're in a sea of boring navy suits and then you're like, bam, I've got my hair and the flower and the whole,
Yeah.
I do feel like that can at least give you an opportunity. Now it's up to you or whoever the person is to take that opportunity, right? But I think that that does give you an opportunity to kind of go, I'm different, I'm here, whatever. I will tell you maybe similar, the moment where I felt probably the most feminine was from the pageant, Stacey, and it was from the state pageant when the husbands get to walk the wives kind of on stage for the evening
Yeah.
gown portion. And first of all, the pageant was like an out of body experience, especially the swimsuit part. But when we got to that part, Greg walked from one side of the stage and I walked from the other stage. And when we met in the middle, I don't know that I felt more like a woman or more feminine. I mean, I loved my dress. I was obsessed with it. Like it was
It was
sparkles too. It was
gorgeous.
like
It was
all about
gorgeous. It was
sparkles.
gorgeous.
But I think walking that stage, doing that kind of slow walk and was just like, okay, like this is pretty much one of the coolest things I'll, ever be able to do in my life. And so that definitely was the time where I felt the most feminine, I would say.
I love that.
It's cool that pageants celebrate femininity in that way, and like that is what you're celebrating in that moment is
Mhm.
being in a gown and sparkles and hair and your husband and like all of these great things. And it's interesting that society kind of looks down on pageants sometimes, or
Uh-huh.
they let like mock them or whatever, because it really truly is just celebrating femininity. And the women that I've met through pageants are brilliant. They are some of the smartest
Oh,
women that I've ever met in my life.
yeah, I mean, I will say I didn't really know much. I always watched pageants growing up and things like that. I never thought in a million years I would do one, but the thing that I took away from this last year was that it is more work. Um, I had when I thought about doing it, the words pageant coach didn't come into my brain until somebody's like, "You need a pageant coach." I was like, "I can walk and talk." They're like, "Not the right way, you can't." And so and I think to your point, Caitlin, it does celebrate, I think, all the best women. And then the other thing that a lot of times I think is forgotten is these platforms that these women are highlighting that are passionate to them. And whether that's a charity, whether that's some sort of, illness that somebody in their family has fought through. I will say for me, my first meeting with my pageant coach, and she was like, "What's your platform going to be?" And I was like, "Women in home building." And she was like, "No, it's not." She was like, Nobody in the history of pageants has ever talked about construction. And I was like, well, here's the thing. If you want me to talk passionate about something, that is the thing. And I was like, I'm not going to put my name on a charity. And there are other things I'm passionate about. But I was like, if you really want me to talk about something super passionate, I'm like, trust me, that's what it's going to be. And once I talked her through it and my pageant director through it, they were like, okay, we get it now. And I was like, and plus, I'm like, if nobody ever talks about construction, like it'll hopefully make me stand out as like, oh, that's the girl that wants to give hammers to everybody, and all that. But it was so much work. Um, that I had no idea. And it did give me really a lot of respect. Um, and obviously toggling that with like a full-time job also. And so it was beyond the amount of work I had anticipated, but it was the best, like honestly, the absolute best. And I was very lucky, I will say, that our company was so supportive of me, um, because it did take time away from some stuff. And I knew that my job was always the top priority, because that's what bought the gowns, right? My job was the priority, but they were so supportive, and that I didn't necessarily see coming. So that was very meaningful as well.
That's awesome. So a lot of our followers are women our ages, going through perimenopause, menopause, moms with kids leaving the house, work full time, all of those things. So they love to hear some tips and tricks from beauty queens because
Oh
we all want
gosh.
to stay beautiful, right? Like we
Yes.
all we
Yeah.
all want to stay young and beautiful. But
Yes.
so what are some habits that you have to stay polished, and do you have any non-negotiables in skin or in self-care?
Um, I mean, it's funny from the pageant day. I said my life for the last year has been a trio of three things: spandex, spray tans, and sequins. Right? Like it's all everything revolves around that.
That sounds
Um,
amazing.
Yeah.
yeah, it is. I think for self care or just like uh I'm a huge believer in just taking time. For me, that's probably looks like a massage and a facial. I try to do that. And especially with skincare, I think because I'm 53. I um, grew up in the 70s and 80s, so not a lot of sunscreen. Saw this, there was more like baby oil and sun in, was more what my skin was used to growing up. So I think as I after 40 was really where I was like, okay, I got to get my act together. Um, I also feel like, whatever makes somebody feel good, and whether that's natural beauty products, whether that's plastic surgery, whatever that is, like if it makes you feel good. I will say I'm very, very afraid of needles. So I got
Me
Botox,
too. Me
Daxify
too.
actually for the first time in August before the national pageant. And it was not that I had the issue with Botox, it was that I had an issue of somebody putting needles in my face because I'm so afraid of them. And then after the fact, I was like, why haven't I done this all my life? And I'm going to do it everywhere on my whole body. Like it was, that was kind of crazy. I was like, oh my gosh, everything's so smooth. So I think, yeah, I mean, I think for me, my non negotiables are definitely like hair, um, that you can buy sometimes, but
Yep.
hair. And if I feel my best, I think it's great if somebody is all in for natural, all that. I think that is great, and I totally support that. For me, I feel my best when I get up and I have makeup and my hair's done. It's just, it's kind of who I am, right? Typically, it's funny. I'll tell you a quick side story. When my husband and I got married, we went to Maui on our honeymoon. It's our kind of like our happy place, and we went there. And like a day or two in, he was like, "I don't know who you are because you're not wearing makeup, you're not wearing jewelry, you don't." And I was like, "Oh, Maui Nicole is a totally different than Las Vegas Nicole. Like Las Vegas Nicole is super high maintenance. Like Maui Nicole doesn't care about anything." That's about the only place where I don't care about that. But
Maui Nicole. I love that.
yeah, I was like, Maui Nicole's super chill.
N-
But I think, I will tell you, I've enjoyed like really enjoyed the glam aspect of it. And even though from like a national pageant, I was telling you guys beforehand, it was a really, really overwhelming and exhausting experience. Having somebody do your hair and makeup every day, when I got done with that, I was just like, well, I'm
It's a
going to
dream.
work. Where is my hair and makeup person? Like
Yeah.
I don't know. What do you mean I have to do it myself? So, I feel like anything that makes you, um, but the one thing I will say, the one thing that I had never done besides Botox that I'd never done before that I makes me feel so great is the spray tan. Like I freaking love spray tans so
There's
much. It
something about being tan that
So
just like, oh,
right?
problems
so
don't really exist when you're tan.
I
I have a spray tan membership at Body Heat
uh-huh.
Tanning, and it's like $60 a month,
Yeah.
and I go at least once a week because I think, when you're tan, you just look better.
It do I mean, like,
Yeah.
we had a
Yeah.
party to go to this weekend, and I was like, "All right, the arms are showing, we gotta, like, contour, we gotta do all the things." Yeah, I love it, and I will say too, one of the best things with the pageant journey was I met some of the most incredible, it happened to be all women, for beauty, whether it was 'cause I'm a super loyal person. When I find somebody that I like how they do stuff, I stick with them. So my hair and makeup person, Olivia, who literally kept me sane during the national pageant, my spray tan, the girl who did my spray tan, all those people, I was just like, thank goodness for them because even though I love makeup, I can't do what they do. Like there is
Yeah.
a reason why they're the professionals.
Oh, yeah. Now, do you have any advice for women going through their mom stage with little kids or middle school kids to keep, like, if they're in the middle of it and they love how they feel when they're all glammed up, but they are in the thick of kid life? What
Yeah.
is your advice for that?
I mean, I think as much as you can, still try to give yourself that time. Even if it's just like, hey, once a week, I'm going to get dolled up and I'm going to go out with my girlfriends or whatever that is. Um, Try as much as possible to carve that time out. And, when my older son, I was a single mom for a time and it was exhausting. Obviously, he was super tiny, it was exhausting. And um I still try to do that, but I think again, look for that support that you have in your life that maybe can help you take out whatever that time is that you need to, throw some lip gloss on or something like that. Or if there's a girlfriend that you can come stay with your kids, even if it's just for you to go and take a bath and like feel like yourself a little bit. Um, I think the hard thing with small not hard, but the thing with small kids is we always tell our friends who have maybe younger kids now, like the days are so long, but the years are so short.
Yeah.
And um it goes so, just goes so fast. I'm really realizing that as my kids are like, oh God, I just want to hold on to you, a little bit longer. Um, it's funny, I would go back to my kids being little in like a hot second. I always joke with Greg. I'm like, I wish somebody'd leave a baby on my doorstep. And he's like, you're literally out of your mind. I miss that stage. I know it's hard sometimes. Like I miss that stage so much. That being said, I think hanging out with your adult kids is pretty cool. You hang out,
Yeah.
you do, Stacy, right?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Hanging out with your adult kids is pretty much the
He's
coolest.
my
But
favorite son, He's my only
yeah,
one, so
yeah.
in my phone, he's my favorite son.
That's so cute. I love that. I love that. Yeah, I mean, listen, I think especially as moms of hearts kids, and I'll tell you, my friend, I have a really good friend. She was actually Mrs. Nevada last year. My sweet friend Gina Marin, who was the one that introduced me to the pageant. She has four boys, who she homeschools, by the way. Which I'm like, you should get all the money, awards, and everything because like I can't. Like she is a superwoman. And I think it's a little bit of the opposite of your question, though, Caitlin, when we'll say to her and her husband, come over for dinner and you can just wear your sweatpants if you want to. For her, because she's so crazy, although she loves to get dressed up and she's obviously been part of the pageant, she's like, sometimes I just want to put my hair in a ponytail, put on some sweatpants, and I'm like, girl, I got you. If you want to come over and you don't want to wear a stitch of makeup, like equally, like I got you on that too. So
I love
whatever
that.
gives you some grace in life, I guess, gives you some peace in life, like just do it.
All right.
I love it.
So let's see. Okay, I think we're going into the glow up from the inside, one of our final segments before our rapid fire. Um, how do you care for your inner world? So like your mentality,
Yeah. I read every night. I think that's kind of like my time to shut down. Although it's not very like spiritual, if I can take an hour and watch a good murder show, that is like,
Are you a
As
Dateline
women,
fan?
why do we love those? Why do
I
we
I don't
don't
know.
love them?
know. My husband was telling me last night, so we had some folks over last night. He was like, if I ever go missing, he's like, she's gonna make it look like the Easter Bunny did it. He was like, she has watched so much murder show. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think that. And then you know, again, not like it's a very namaste type of thing, but like if you just give me a couple hours at Fashion Show Mall where I can maybe even like silence my phone because, much like, in our industry, obviously it's a 7-day a week industry. So if I can like maybe just go, as I always say, find that perfect lip gloss that's going to make me a size two, if I can just like spend a couple hours looking for that perfect lip gloss and just kind of be, um, that is great. I think that is, part of that. And then, again, like I try to read every night just to sort of I don't know, it's very centering for me. I think growing up too, I was an only child growing up, so I was very used to being by myself without siblings. We moved a lot growing up, and I was very shy and introverted growing up, which no one who knows me now would ever believe. But I think I was very used to solitude. So I'm okay. Like I actually feel good when I'm by myself. That being said, like how we were just talking about, if I'm, you know, if I really need like a pick me up, I'll just, hang out with my husband and have him make me laugh and act a fool or, whatever. But you do have to have some time for yourself.
Yeah.
You really, really do. Whatever that looks like.
What are some limiting beliefs that you had to release to be where you're at now?
Um, I think over this last year specifically, I had to kind of this with my age, I think was a big, it's funny at 53, I probably feel better. I definitely look better than I looked even at 23. But I think I had to mentally just be like, okay, you have to get over it that everybody, for the most part, is younger than you. Going to the Mrs. America pageant, most of the contestants were 25 to 35. It doesn't matter how much weight I've lost, it doesn't matter what I do. I don't look like a 25, right? Like that's not somebody physically necessarily that I can compete with. So I think I had to get that out of um my head. You know, again, part of the whole thing with the pageant was because I had lived with this limiting belief of not being good enough for so long personally. Um, you know, I'm too heavy. I'm too this. I'm not smart enough. I'm not that like I think I've really fought with that for so many years. And it's funny growing up, my mom always had really drilled into me, you don't have to be the smartest, the prettiest, this, you have to be the nicest. It was always you have to be the nicest. And I think the challenge, although that's great advice, the challenge with that is also not necessarily realistic
Hmm.
in asserting yourself as a grown up, right? And so um I think maybe more as a longer term limiting belief was just like I always have to be, can't stand up for myself. I always have to be the nicest. And that just again, it's not necessarily a reality. It doesn't mean you have to be crappy to people or you have to, have a bad temper or fly off the handle. I don't really have, but I think just that thought of like you have to be so docile and like that, it's just, I don't know. It's fine if that's somebody's way. I think there was like a badass inside of me that just where she just needed to come out and it just didn't come out until
She's
later in
arrived.
my
She's
life.
arrived.
Yeah, it just didn't come out. I honestly, when I look back at stuff, I didn't really start becoming the person that I was going to be until my mid 30s. I mean, I
Yeah.
definitely, I was not, I was such a vastly different person in my
That's good
20s and
though.
my
I mean,
early
that's good.
30s.
That's the
Yeah.
whole grow up and glow up. I mean, that's what this
Yeah.
is all
Mhm.
about
Yeah.
if you're the same person you were 10 years ago, you're failing
Yikes,
because
right?
you need to
Yeah.
be a
Yeah.
different person.
Well,
Nicole, I
that's
don't
what's
know.
funny. I think Oh, go ahead,
I was
Stacey.
gonna say I don't know. I know you're busy, but if you ever have time, scroll through our season one,
Okay.
because a lot of it is self love,
Oh,
weight
I love that.
issues, um, Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of deep dive. I guess it was kind of like Caitlin and I's therapy, season
That's
1. A
amazing.
lot of
Oh,
tears, but, I think you would really relate to it,
oh,
and
that's
we
awesome.
we we talked all about everything you've mentioned, and we've had people reach out to us on people we don't know, people we do know, saying, "Oh my gosh, I so relate to this. Oh my gosh," like, and wanted to
Yeah.
talk more about it, and I think that's why we do this podcast is as women, we don't talk about self-love enough. We
Yes.
portray that everything's great, and it's not always great. And we,
No,
self love was something I've learned the past few years. And yeah, I think you'd really,
that's
really
amazing.
like
I
that.
definitely will. I think it's, and again, that's why I love like women who are trying to help other women, right? Like it
Yep.
just,
Yep.
it's fantastic. Absolutely fantastic.
And I'll just say on Botox, I am scared of needles. And I got Botox one time, and Caitlin can attest. I looked like a cave woman because I had a unibrow right here because they put too
Oh
much. It was
no.
like, what was that like last year, Caitlin? And
Yeah.
I'm like,
It
maybe I'm
just
not going to do Botox.
Yeah.
well, but they got to figure out your face. So
Yeah.
now that she knows, like, it needs to
Yeah.
go up a little bit higher.
Oh, I was
Yeah.
like,
That's
why do I
all.
woke up and I like look like this? I'm like, why do
You
I
looked like a
look like a
caveman a
cave
little bit.
woman? Like,
That's
yeah, what's going
funny. It's funny. Mine went down. I was saying my eyes went down
Oh,
first
really?
and I call at first and then they
Yeah.
went back up and I was like, oh my gosh, like, what's happening? And I was like, they're
Yeah.
already hooded as it is. So I was like, oh
I'm
gosh,
scared. I'm
okay.
scared now.
Yeah. I
I
had a Spock
listen,
eyebrow the one time, just one eyebrow really high. And she was like, I
I think
promise it'll go down. And it did.
that's
But
one of
for
those
2
where
days, I
like you
was like,
gotta
this is,
find, yeah. And
All
maybe it's
right.
just not for you. Like,
It might not be. All right.
yeah.
Let's see. Before we go to rapid fire, what message would you give a woman who feels lost or burnt out?
It's funny. I got a question very similar to this for my Mrs. Nevada interview. And I think the thing that, and I'll tell you similar to what I said then, was like, if I met somebody who was kind of struggling with that, I think I would first sit down and talk to them and like say, like, let's identify all the things that are great about you first. Like, let's focus on what is fantastic about you, what is positive, and let's lean into that positive things first. And then if there's things that you're struggling with, if there's things you want to change, let's talk about a plan. Let's and not try to climb Mount Everest. Let's just pick one or two things that maybe you want to change, and how do we do that? And if she wants to change, though. And I
Yeah.
think that's part of the key, right? Is like, are you listening to some sort of exterior influences, or is this something in your heart, in your gut, in your soul that you're like, I really want to change this? And if that's the case, then like, let's talk about it. How do we do that? um but I think it's always super important to focus on the positive. I mean, Stacey's been in my office. I literally have rainbows and unicorns. It looks like a 9-year-old who likes Hello Kitty. It like decorated my office. But I think whenever possible for me, and if I'm talking to somebody, I always want to try to focus on the positive of it, because um if you start to me, if you start positively, then at least it sets a tone. If you have to have a negative or a hard conversation, at least that sets that tone that all is not lost or all is not bad.
I like that.
that's good advice. That's very good advice. All right. So this is a little fun segment that we do with
Yay.
all of our guests. It is called rapid fire. So we are just going to rapid fire you questions, and you give us whatever comes to the top of your mind first. Don't
Okay.
overthink it. Just 1 2 word
All right.
answers. All right. I will start. Coffee or matcha?
Neither.
Oh,
I
okay.
don't do, neither. Tea, hot tea,
All
just
right.
like regular hot tea.
All right.
All right.
Heels or sneakers?
Oh gosh. Right now, sneakers, but sparkly ones.
Crown moment you'll never forget.
Um, my boys holding up signs that said "That's my mom,"
Oh,
that I could see from the stage.
I love that. Favorite
I
beauty
almost just
product?
cried thinking about that.
I know. I
Tears
I
just
bet.
came to
almost
my
just
eyes
Yeah,
cried.
thinking about that. Yeah, I
I
almost just
know.
cried.
I love that. All right. Favorite beauty product?
Lip gloss,
Lip gloss.
definitely, always lip gloss.
Go to confidence song.
Um, it, I'll tell you what it was. The song that we did our opening number to, "Woman Up" by Megan Trainor. It's a fat. You want to just like, or Confident by Demi Lovato. Great song. If you want to like put your heels on and let's go. That's a great song too.
I got to add one, Caitlin. Swifty, yes or no?
Yes, absolutely. 1,000,000%. I have the most respect, and I have a 19-year-old. So every girlfriend that he has is like gigantic Taylor Swift fans. So absolutely, she is fantastic and smart businesswoman
Yep.
and supremely talented.
Just in case you
We
And
wonder.
I would not say not a Swiftie to you because I do not want to get cut. Also, all of a sudden it's like interview over. No, I
I
definitely
love Swifty.
Swiftie. Yeah.
All right. What is a quote you repeat?
Hustle and heart will set you apart. You can
Mm.
hustle your business, but you got to do it with a good heart, and yes, I have it on my wall in my
I
office.
like that. Most glam thing in your purse.
Oh my gosh. I would say everything in my makeup bag. I actually will tell you guys really quick. I went to a luncheon last week and I lost my makeup bag and I thought I was going to die because first of all, it's so expensive.
Yeah.
And me, actually, I take that back. Sunglasses, bougie sunglasses. There's
Ah.
probably a good like $700-800 pair of sunglasses in there too.
Oh,
But
okay.
but makeup. So
All right. I love it.
also,
Leadership pet peeve.
um, not being open to other people's opinions. Just kind of shutting down, not being open to anybody else's opinions.
Okay. Secret talent.
Oh golly. I mean, I feel like I can dance pretty good. I mean, I know at like our holiday party that we had last year, some of the employees were like, she will get down to some gangster rap. And I don't think they saw that coming. Some of the home care folks were like, we did not see her dancing to DMX, but that was what I did. So maybe secret love. I don't know.
I
That's a
love
great,
it.
that's a
What
great,
is
yeah.
your dream vacation spot?
Paris. I haven't been, and next year that's on my list. So I,
Well,
I
talk
want to
to
see the
me.
Eiffel Tower. I will. I want to see the Eiffel Tower in person.
Mm-hmm.
Million
I've been
percent.
there a couple times.
Next
Okay.
year, girl.
Yep.
Next
Yep.
year.
Okay. Gold or silver?
Silver.
How do you unwind?
Um, Hanging out with Greg. I know this is like having a Jameson, playing some video poker,
Yeah.
and figuring out all the world's problems. When we're here, how do I unwind when I'm not here? Beach, book, beer. Chair by
Love
the edge of the beach with a book with an
Maui
adult beverage
Nicole.
in my hand.
Maui
And
Nicole.
that's how, yeah, Maui Nicole. That's how Maui Nicole unwinds. Yeah.
She needs a Barbie. Maui Barbie. It'd be
Yeah,
Maui Nicole.
exactly.
One word for your energy.
Oh my gosh. I hope infectious.
A woman who inspires you.
My mom. My
Aw.
mom is the strongest person that I know. Sorry, I don't know where those tears were coming
Oh, we
from.
cry
It's
all the time.
menopause.
We cry all the
Oh
time.
my gosh. It's like menopause, I think. But yeah, my
I,
mom.
I'm not a crier, and I cry on this podcast almost every
Oh my
episode.
gosh, that tears just squirted out. Yeah, my mom is the most incredible woman that I know.
She's very beautiful, by the way, too.
She is very beautiful and
Yeah.
she is very, very strong. She doesn't think she is sometimes, but she's the
Oh,
strongest
I could
person
tell
that
she's
I've ever
feisty.
known in my life.
I know. I
Yeah.
could tell she's
Yeah,
feisty.
she's fantastic.
Okay.
Gorgeous, beautiful. Thank God.
Yeah.
Thank God I get my genes from her because she's like 78 going on like 48. So thank goodness I get my good genes and everything from my mom.
And the last ones. Your superpower in one word.
Energy, I guess, energy.
Okay.
Fun. I don't know. It's a hard, oh gosh.
I know.
Well, that was super fun. Thank you so much for playing our little rapid.
Great, you guys.
And we love ending with fun, but we also like to go a little bit deeper before we wrap up, because this show is really about the moments that shape us to who we
Yeah.
become in life.
So we ask every guest this question.
Okay.
Can you share a time where you felt like you were breaking, but that moment became the spark that ignited a glow up?
Yeah, when I thought about this, and there's a specific moment in time. So as I mentioned earlier, so I um was married previously, and I had my older son, and I think on the backside of that, I was financially devastated. I was divorced. He was 8 weeks old. I was a salesperson, Stacy, at the time. I had no backlog. I was financially devastated and just emotionally, physically, everything. Just thought like, I'm not gonna recover from this.
Mhm.
And it was where I finally started to find my inner voice of, I'm not going to allow myself to be treated by this and this in a certain way anymore. I'm not going to be allow myself to let somebody on the outside break me. And I think also having my son at that moment, I was like, this is a bootstrap moment, right? Like, nobody else is going to fix this but me. And so just, the sacrifice that kind of went during that time of my life, but it really truly put me on the road to the person I am today. And I believe wholeheartedly put me in a mindset that put me with the person I was supposed to be with for the rest of my life, who, not only was nice to my son, but adopted my son, and who he knows, who is his father. And that was, I think that time in my life was just like, it was the hardest, but the best, because um that's where and that was probably at like 32. That was 30 years old, somewhere
Yeah.
right around there, 30 years old, that it was just like, I'm not going to allow myself to be diminished, all those things. And so it really was, that was the spark. And then, from there, again, I think I mentioned earlier, I have a deep seated belief that nobody becomes who they are all on their own. Like, it's the help along the way.
Yep.
And so, again, putting myself in that mindset, I've had so much help along the way. My husband, um, personally, who's such a huge influence, my mom, everything. But that, when I look back and think like, gosh, I didn't want to be divorced. I didn't want to this. I didn't want to do all this thing. But thank goodness. Cause like, and what do they say? Like, if you're going through hell, just keep going. Right. And
Yeah.
so,
Mhm.
so that's what that was. That
Yeah.
definitely was a pivotal.
We have said, and I've said it many times, the mindset of it's not happening to you, it's happening for you.
Yeah.
Um,
Mhm.
Even the bad stuff, that everyone has their things that happen in life, and it's like changing the mindset of what am I going to learn from this?
Yes.
Instead of why me? Because I've had that in my life. Why me? I think
Yes.
Caitlin has too, and we've shifted our mindset
Mhm.
to this is part of me, and this is how
Yeah.
we're going to get to the next level of ourselves. Is this stuff has to happen? So
Yeah, absolutely. I
Yeah.
mean, like you said, if you're not growing and changing, and I think that's the people that, inspire me the most in my life are people that do that. And even like my kids, when I see them finding and failing and this, and my younger son is super disciplined with exercise and things like that. And I still look and I'm like, God, I wish I had 10%, if you're disciplined. But I think that, like, yeah, if you're not growing, like, gosh, man, what's the point, right? Like, it's just, and I'll relate it to real, you relate it to our business, Stacey. When a friend of mine said, like, oh, they don't build houses like they used to. And I was like, thank goodness,
yeah,
because
good,
they used to
good.
not be built very well. And same with us, right? Like, you're not
Yeah,
who you were when you were 25. Like, well, thank God, because she was a totally different person.
yeah.
So thank goodness. Like, that's
Oh yeah.
crazy.
Yeah, I look back, my friends and I all got tank tops that said train wreck on them at 25, and we wore those proud and we loved it. And now I look back and I'm like, I
You
don't
know,
want to throw that tank top out, but I also definitely am not going to wear it.
Caitlin is a Jersey Shore girl. She is a Jersey Shore
I
girl. Yes, she
I
is.
love that. Listen,
I
I'm
am.
very, very happy that I grew up not in the age of social media
Oh, me
and
too. Me too.
phones
Oh,
and stuff like that. So I'm like, oh yeah, yeah,
No,
but
no ring
yeah,
cams. No, no.
yeah,
Oh
no,
my gosh.
no, none of
yeah,
that.
it's wild,
You
but
It is. You guys are incredible. And I just appreciate so, so much that you even thought of me to do this. And just kudos to both of you for, uplifting women, sharing yourselves, being vulnerable. And I literally appreciate it so much. This was such a fantastic and fun experience.
Aw, thank you.
Thank
We
you.
love that. We love that. We do love the messages that come after. And, if you wanna see me cry, just join my podcast.
Oh
Cause,
gosh.
cause I don't cry.
Once and
I don't.
Stacy's been in enough meetings where the joke is like, when am I not gonna cry at a meeting? And it's not from like being upset or whatever. It's always when I'm talking about somebody. It's about,
Yeah,
somebody on our team or certainly my family. So listen, I think a good cry sometimes, man, that is just like heals it. Just sometimes you just need to cry it out, right? In your
yep.
car. For me,
Oh,
I don't
Oh,
want to,
yeah. Oh, yeah.
oh
if I'm
yeah.
like, yeah, like
We
I'll,
talk about
if
that
I'm
often here.
yeah,
Yeah.
if I'm upset at work, I'm like, I'm not gonna do it at the office. I'll go do it in my car.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
We
Yep.
all of us cry. All of us cry, and it's a
For
lot of
sure.
times by ourselves. It's a lot of times by ourselves.
Oh yeah. The car is a great place.
Caitlin
It
takes
is.
she loves to cry in the car to Walmart or wherever.
I do.
Oh,
I'm like, I gotta go to Walmart, and my husband's like, "Do you want to bring one of the kids?" I'm like, "No, I just
No.
gotta go."
oh my gosh, I love that. That's so
Uh,
funny.
all right, so Nicole, this conversation has been such a reminder that leadership doesn't have to look loud, hard, or masculine to be powerful. You've shown us that your grace, confidence, and softness can absolutely coexist with authority and honestly elevate it.
Oh,
Yes,
thank
and
you.
if there's a one thing that we hope that you all take away from today, it's this: that your femininity is not something that you should shrink, silence, or turn off in order to succeed.
Yeah.
It's a strength, it's wisdom, it's intuition. And when you own it, it actually can become your edge.
Yes. And whether you're building a career, stepping into leadership, navigating a season of burnout, or just trying to remember who you are again, we hope this episode will remind you that you don't have to become someone else to rise.
You get to be powerful and soft. You can be driven and deeply grounded. And you can also be ambitious and aligned.
Yeah. So, Nicole, thank you for sharing
Oh
your
my gosh,
heart,
thanks,
your
guys.
journey, and your light with us.
Oh,
Yes,
thank
thank
you
you.
so much.
Thank you so much for being here. We truly appreciate it. We had an awesome conversation. And to our Glow Up and Grow Up community, thank you guys for being here, for growing with us, for choosing to evolve out loud, and for not losing yourself in the process.
Yep.
We'll see you
We'll
next
see you next
time.
time.